last presentation of the day is a preview of the Houston District's next design build project. And it is part of an overall program, North Houston Highway Improvement Project. Today, most of the slides will focus on segment 3 of this project. Before I launch into segment 3, I want to give you an overview of the NHHIP. It took me a while to slow down and actually learn how to say NHHIP, but once you do that, it makes sense. All right. So NHHIP has 3 segments. We're going to start up north and head south. Segment 1 is along 45 from Beltway 8 to 610, roughly 9 miles. Segment 2 is from 610 south to I-10, approximately 3 miles. And segment 3, we're calling the downtown loop system, which includes 45, I-10, 69, and where 2D8 terminates coming up from Pearland, just south of downtown, Midtown area. So the goal of this initiative is to provide a safer facility with additional capacity for projected demand by incorporating transit opportunities, travel demand strategies, and flexible operations. One proposed recommended alignment per segment equals a corridor end-to-end with approximately 24 miles. You can see the map with the different segments color-coded, segments 1, 2, and 3. The need for the project is due to population and employment increases, to manage projected traffic growth, bring the facility up to current and safety design standards, and move traffic efficiently, including evacuation routes. The purpose of the project is to manage congestion, enhance safety, provide expanded transit and carpool opportunities with a 2-way 24-hour operation. Today you have a reversible facility for parts of 45 that we want to go concurrent with the proposed project. And finally, improve mobility and improve operational efficiencies. So I believe it was referenced earlier, maybe in Quincy's slides, that the Texas A&M Transportation Institutes, every year, they provide the top 100 most congested roads in Texas. This project, from Beltway 8 down to downtown, the downtown loop system, has 8 segments within the top 25 of that most congested roads in Texas. So definitely, we have a need and we have a purpose for the proposed improvements. Today, I want to focus in on segment 3. Classic TxDOT, we start and we're going to deliver 3 before 1 before 2. So bear with us. So segment 3, as mentioned earlier, is approximately 12 miles. The construction cost estimate only does not include design or any engineering and construction testing, materials testing, but just construction is $2.78 billion. I saw some eyes and eyebrows reach for the ceiling over here. It's a big initiative, and you'll see why. The project scope, and this is sort of the big reveal for this project for those that are not familiar with it. We are proposing to realign I-45, which currently runs on the west side of downtown, partly on the Pierce elevated before it goes down to Galveston. We're looking to realign it along 10 on the north end and along the east side of downtown parallel to 69, and then turning again to go in its current alignment down to Galveston. We're going to decommission the Pierce elevated and construct downtown connectors that provide a connection between I-10 and I-45 to maintain that connection into downtown on the west side. We're going to reconstruct I-10 and add new non-toll express lanes, that's the blue up top, running left and right through downtown. This is to get throughput through downtown. Limited ability to enter those express lanes and leave them. It's all about throughput. Another big component of this project is depressing I-69 Southwest Freeway from spur 527, which is off the page, to Commerce Street, just below, before Buffalo Bayou. Reconstruct 288 from I-69 and I-45. Essentially, that is where 288 is parallel with 59 today through Midtown. And then with all this work, as you can see, it involves reconstructing major interchanges. I-69 and 288, 45 and 69, right here. I-10, 69 and 10. And now with the realignment of 45, you got to accommodate 45 through that interchange, right? And finally, I-45 and I-10. So you saw the plan view, kind of the map of the project. I want to show you some typical sections for each of these sub-areas within the project. This section, Section A, is from spur 527 to 288. You see I have up there design, bid, build. So that is going to be designed in-house by TxDOT engineers and put out to let for a low bid. So this is quiz time. Is that considered alternative delivery or traditional delivery? All right, good job. This project is projected to let to construction in FY 2020 by TxDOT. So today, 69 is elevated on structures. So you've come under the arch bridges through Montrose, and now you're up on structures in this section after 527. With the proposed improvement, we're going to lower 69 to match what's to the west with the arch bridges. 69 is depressed. We're going to add some capacity to 69, and we're also going to introduce some auxiliary lanes to allow traffic, local traffic, entering and leaving the freeway to reduce side merges. So Quincy likes to say we like a laminar flow and not turbulent flow. So the auxiliary lanes allow us to do that. We're also going to introduce a frontage road system that doesn't exist today for that local circulation. Section B. Today, 69 and 288 are parallel with each other. In the proposed project, they will continue to be parallel with each other. However, we make the decision points for folks choosing to coming up from 288 to make a decision earlier than they do today, whether they want to go to 45 or they want to go to 69, be it 45 north or south also. And we provide that decision. Once you make your decision, it's barrier separated. Section C, I-69. Essentially, this is behind the convention center, Minute Maid Park, the soccer stadium. Today, 69 is up on structure, right? If you're going south on 69, you can see the convention center really, really close. You can almost touch it, right? It's right there. So with the proposed project, we're looking to depress I-69. This is also the first time you'll see I-45 in its new alignment, in the middle of 69. So we're going below grade, and the local cross streets that currently go under the 69 bridges will actually be open. They're on grade, they're above ground, or on ground, and then the highway is below. We've got an animation that I'll show you, and I want to touch on it right now, feature you'll see. So With depressing the highway, you've got this opportunity now with DEC for a third party to fund a DEC park. And we're having those conversations right now with the city and other folks downtown that are interested in partnering with TxDOT for that work. Section B is essentially along I-10. Once again, you see I-10, and then I-45 now has been realigned to be parallel with I-10. You also see the new feature of the I-10 non-tolled express lanes. The regular I-10 lanes in the green, you will be able to interact with the local streets with entrance and exit ramps, but the express lanes of I-10, it's more about throughput, getting folks through downtown with minimal entrance and exits. And of course, you see the I-45 structure. Section E. It's a lot of work there, right? So just take your time. We'll work left to right. So why don't we understand where we are today? So today we've got I-10 and I-45 coexisting with the I-10 HOV. Tomorrow you will continue to have I-10, regular lanes, general purpose lanes. You'll have the express lanes. You have I-45. And then I mentioned in the earlier slide that because we're realigning 45 and decommissioning 45 on the west side of town, we still want to provide a connectivity on the west side of downtown. And that's what these downtown connectors provide. Accessing both downtown via I-10 and I-45. And this is a new element to the slides, the I-45 max lanes. Non-tolled, and the distinction between the max lanes of I-45 and the I-10 express lanes is the I-10 express lanes will not have a criteria for occupancy, like HOV. Anyone, single, multiple occupancy can get in those lanes, whereas 45 max lanes will have that restriction. You may have to have at least 2 people in the car to use those lanes. Transit will be able to use those lanes. So it's a little more restrictive, and we're calling it max lanes. The final section I'll share with you is the downtown connectors. So today you can see you've got 45 on the west side of downtown, which is also carried on the Pierce Elevated. As we talked about earlier, 45 is going to be realigned. And what's left with the proposed project is the downtown connectors. This is picking up local traffic in and out of downtown and getting them to I-10 and I-45. So the next slide, I believe, is the animation. Is there any questions right now before we get into that?
Question about the private, the design build where there's a tollway afterwards. When are these tolls going to be released to TxDOT? I mean, when is it going to be released to TxDOT so that the public doesn't get stuck with the ever tollway? I mean, TxDOT needs some relief to get some of that money back.
Yeah, so this project does not have a toll element. I want to be very clear about that. The I-10 express lanes are non-tolled. The I-45 max lanes are non-tolled. The 288 project is being constructed right now in Harris County. It is a version of design build called concession. It's a long-term agreement that TxDOT is entering into with our developer, concessionaire. I talked about it earlier. The cost of the construction and design is $815 million. TxDOT's only putting in 17 of that. The private developer has brought their own equity. They've secured their own loan with the federal government, TIFIA loan, and they've already sold their own bonds. TxDOT has no risk with that debt. If, when they open that facility, toll collections reach a certain level, our contract with them has provisions that they provide a share of those revenues. To answer your question, that that agreement per law cannot last more than 52 years. So the facility at that point would turn back to TxDOT.
Is that the connector road to downtown, is it going to be built first, then I'm talking about from traffic control?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. As you can see, for the downtown segment 3 work, traffic control is going to be a big part of the design build effort. And the teams that we're going to procure or advertise to, they're going to have to speak to that and their concepts and plans for keep traffic flowing. At this point in time, we have not come up with a sequence of construction, and that's why we're using design build, because we don't want to, unlike a traditional project where we design the sequence for the contractor, we want to see those ideas, and we want to take advantage of the contractor teaming up with their designer to give us those ideas. We will have prescriptions on, we need X number of lanes on I-69, I-10, and 45 to remain open, to keep flowing. We'll set those parameters, but how they phase it, we want industry to come up with those ideas.
I see that the proposed alignment, most of the sections are depressed. Are they going to be above 100-year floodplain?
So we are currently, and it's in the future slide, with the interstate system, it will be a 100-year design. We're currently engaged with advancing the preliminary design that's supporting the environmental schematic to the next level to help us write the specs for the design build procurement. And where we can do better than 100, we're committed to doing that just because it's Houston, we're coming off of Harvey, we understand, aside from lowering the freeway, drainage is a high-risk item in this region. And we're lowering the freeway, so we're paying particular close attention to that element. And that's why we've engaged our providers to help us tighten the specs before we go out to the design build community. All right, so let's do the animation. And this is just focused on segment 3. And we'll start with the in-house project, 69 from spur 527 there going off to the left. This is where 69 is depressing now. It's currently on structure. This is another opportunity for a third party to partner with TxDOT to fund and construct a deck park. And as Quincy is fond of saying, partnership means come to us with some dollars. So I want to make sure and I share that message. Now we are turning to where 288 and 69 are side by side. And we are looking to carry the theme of the arch bridges in this section. Elgin, McCowan, 2M are the 3 bridges you see we'll be rebuilding. And we're going to approach I-45 as it goes to the right to Galveston. And 45 now is coming up and turning to the east to go north, parallel to 69, and it will be depressed. The convention center is to your left. 45, 69 is diving down, and this is a deck park opportunity, again, a partnership with a third party. We've got Minute Maid, Go Stros, is that right? Got the team right? Not the Rangers, it's the Stros. All right, so we're out of the depressed section, we're climbing again. We're coming up on Buffalo Bayou, right here. 69 is going to go up to Humble, and now 45 is turning to be parallel with I-10. I-10, we're going to pick up I-10. The green is the general purpose lanes of I-10. That's that you have your entrance and exits as normal with local cross streets. And the blue there is the express lanes of I-10, limited access with in and out of those facilities. Start to see here the downtown connectors entering and leaving downtown. We've got the max lanes coming in. And now 45 is turning to go north to Dallas. Not sure why anybody would do that. And now we're going to kind of go into greater detail with the downtown connectors. So by now you are on here because you've come off of I-10 or I-45 and you want to go into downtown, or you're leaving downtown to access I-10 or 45. Going to terminate here. You can pick up and go north on Pease, or southbound you can terminate into downtown via Jefferson. All right, so then the next question is, what are we going to do with the Pierce Elevated? Because we have no longer a purpose for it for a highway perspective. So this is a artist rendition of one option. There are many options, and we're currently discussing with the city their thoughts on how they want to repurpose the Pierce Elevated structure. It can remain, perhaps function as a linear park, or demolished and the land is redeveloped in a mixed-use fashion. And so we're working closely with the city to understand their desires as it impacts the Pierce Elevated. So quick overview of where we're at and where we're going. Right now in design, the schematic is publicly available on the website. There's a lot of information on that website, including the draft environmental document. We completed the draft environmental impact statement published in the spring of 2017, a year ago, and then we held 3 hearings in the summer, in May. The final EIS, environmental impact statement, is currently being wrapped up with a record of decision anticipated at the end of this year. We know we will need U.S. Army Corps of Engineer permits and U.S. Coast Guard permits for this project, and we're starting to look and do that early work. Right-of-way mapping is underway. Railroad agreements. There are 12 rail crossings, a combination of Union Pacific and Metro facilities. We've started those conversations with UP and Metro. We're currently have providers performing aerial and underground investigations for utilities, and we have geotechnical investigations currently underway. The question earlier regarding drainage, because of the risk profile of this particular discipline, we're engaging providers to help us advance the completed preliminary drainage report to help us write the technical specifications for the design build. Here's a high overview of how we anticipate the design build procurement progressing for segment 3. This spring, we intend to do industry outreach, including this event. We've got a series of events in May and June in advance of issuing the request for qualifications. Earlier, I talked about this is the first step in a 2-step process. This is where we ask industry when they submit their statement of quals, they're essentially telling us three things. Their experience, both as a firm and their individuals, are they qualified to do this type of work? Do they understand segment 3 and the challenges and the complexity of the project? And third, what is their safety record? That will be in the statement of quals to be submitted in the fall of 2018. We will evaluate and score those statement of quals and propose a short list of teams. The record decision is expected at the end of this year, concluding the environmental clearance process. We would like to have that in hand before we go out and issue the final RFP. It gives us certainty of the commitments we need to provide coming out of the environmental process, and it also gives our industry partners, contractors as well as their designers in the design build side, certainty that we have clearance, environmental clearance. 6 months later, we will receive proposals. This is both their price and their technical approach to the job. In the fall, we will evaluate and recommend a best value team for a conditional award, with final contract execution anticipated at the end of 2019. So we have a provider now under contract with early design starting in the spring of 2020, and you'll ask, well, why the gap? Why not get to work? So the gap between contract execution and start of design is used for the design builder to submit two main documents: their project management plan and their schedule. The project management plan has many chapters, and this is how they are going to hold themselves and operate during design and construction. What processes are they going to follow in design? So they will likely lean on their lead designer to write that chapter. What processes are they going to follow in construction, both from traffic control, testing, materials testing, and placement of materials? They'll lean on their testing firm to write that chapter. And then the schedule, because of design build, the schedule is even more shifted to the design builder. We want to make sure we've got a solid schedule from that contractor before releasing final design. And then we anticipate in late spring of 2020, early construction to start. I don't want you to think they're just going to tear up downtown right off the bat, because they've got a lot to design, but where there's opportunities for them to do early work, we expect them to take advantage of that. Here's some resources, and I believe we'll make the website available, or the presentations available to you. We talked about the project website, and we've also talked about some of these web pages earlier with the earlier presentations from Gail and Michael from Civil Rights. Are there any questions about 45? That's sort of a loaded question, isn't it? So many questions, but. All right, thank you. I'll turn it over to Quincy.